Hey guys, it's Nikki. Today I'm going to do kind of a mashup of my July wrap up and my August TBR. So I'm not going to go into detail about like what specifically these books were about, but for the wrap up, I will tell you what my star rating was. And for the TBR, I will tell you what genre the book is. Let's get into it. So for the month of July, I finished 17 books total. Actually, I finished an 18th one last night, the last day of July. The first book I read was The Hideaway by Nora Roberts. I gave this one 4 stars. I think this was supposed to be a romantic suspense, but I would actually classify this as a women's fiction with the understanding that there is a little bit of suspense and there is a little bit more of some romance, but the biggest piece of the story that is consistent throughout is women's fiction. So if you read it as women's fiction, I think you'll enjoy this story a lot more than if you go in thinking it's going to be a romantic suspense or a romance or a suspense. The second book I read was Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan. So I only rated this 3 stars. This was basically a general fiction. It did have that kind of lavish lifestyle like Crazy Rich Asians, but I did not feel like it had the story quality, the story depth of Crazy Rich Asians was not there for me personally. So 3 stars on this one. I enjoyed the scenery and the lifestyles, but the story kind of fell flat for me. Next book I read was Block Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in the Hoops series, and I gave this one 5 stars. Absolutely fantastic. That's a romance, by the way. Definitely worth the read if you guys haven't already picked that one up. Next book, also a 5-star read, and officially my top read for 2020 so far, 28 Summers by Ellen Hilderbrand. I am just in love with this book, and I have since binged 3 other Ellen Hilderbrand books because this one made such an impact on me. This was a women's fiction. There is a romance, but you're not going to be happy when this story ends. You're going to be bawling your eyes out if you're anything like me. And everyone I've talked to that has actually read it has said the same thing. So I cannot recommend this book enough. I absolutely love this book. I will definitely be rereading it at some point, maybe in the near future, but I absolutely love this book. Hands down 5 stars. The next book I read was a crime fiction. It was Find Me by Anne Fraser. I gave this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy this one. Next I read Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. That was also 4 stars. That is a YA fantasy novel. Ellen Hilderbrand, Welcome to Paradise. That was the next book I read, and I gave that one 4 stars. I really enjoyed that one. Not quite as much as 28 Summers, but it definitely hit the spot for more Ellen Hilderbrand. Next I read The King Tides by James Swain, and that's book 1 in a series of a detective crime fiction series that I'm really liking right now. I did actually finish the second book last night, which I didn't include on my wrap up, but yes, so I am really liking that series. 4 stars on that one. I read The Shadows by Alex North, and I did a review on that. If you want to check that out, I'll link it at the top somewhere. That one I gave 4 stars. That one is a thriller / horror / crime fiction. Next up, I read another Ellen Hilderbrand, What Happens in Paradise, which is book 2 following Winter in Paradise. And, another 4 stars. Can't wait for the 3rd book to come out in October. Next, I read Unforgettable You by Brenda Novak. I read this as part of my Reading Rush challenge for the book that matches my birthstone. Unfortunately, this one was a little bit forgettable. It was a romance. I gave 3 stars. Next, I read, big shocker here, The Identicals by Ellen Hilderbrand. Another 4-star read. Really enjoyed this one, and I felt like of the ones I've read since 28 Summers, this one kind of came closest to that emotional connection I felt to 28 Summers. Didn't quite hit the mark, but it came closer than the other ones did. Really enjoying all of these Ellen Hilderbrand. So next I read Slay by Brittany Morris, and that one I gave 4 stars. That's a YA contemporary, and it was really, really good. It was very well thought out. It had all these very rich details about this fictional video game, this like virtual reality video game. I just felt like it was really, really well done. I was very entertained by that book. Next, I read Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Really enjoyed this YA fantasy. Gave it 4 stars. Looking forward to the rest of that series. I finally finished my reread of Twilight. I took that one down from 5 stars to 4. I mean, it still has that nostalgic feeling for me. I still enjoy the story. I still enjoy the characters. But this time around, and let me just say, I read this multiple times back when it initially came out, when I first read the series. But this time around, I actually noticed some inconsistencies that I haven't noticed before. I just felt like maybe some of the dialogue was a little bit awkward in a lot of places, and it just wasn't quite a 5-star read anymore for me, which is not really surprising, but you know, I wanted to do the reread in preparation for Midnight Sun coming out this month. So yeah, finished that reread. Next, I finally finished Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. 5 stars on this one. This is historical YA fantasy. Of course, this one follows the trilogy of the Infernal Devices. I just absolutely adored this book. The new characters, it's like a whole new cast of characters to just fall in love with. I'm very excited to get into the rest of that series. I do have book 2 already pre-ordered, so looking forward to that. I think it comes out several months from now. I did read Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I rated that one 4 stars. It is a contemporary romance. I actually liked this one a little bit more than Chloe Brown. It still has the diverse main character with fat representation, with the black heroine. She's just really fun to get to know in this story, and I really like the couple in this story as well. So that one was really fun. Those are the 17 books I read. Next, let's get into my TBR for August. So I do have 2 arcs that I have committed to reading and reviewing for this month that both release at some point this month. I'm reading The Day I Disappeared by Brandy Reeds, which is a thriller. This one releases August 25th. It looks like it's going to be kind of another detective story, which I'm really into. So that is really what kind of interested me about that one. So I am looking forward to reading that. And of course, book number 3, Bad News Travels by James Swain. So yes, I am looking forward to reading that one and reviewing that on NetGalley. So let's get into the actual physical books. One Perfect Summer by Brenda Novak. This is a women's fiction novel that seems like it has a little bit of a mystery suspense element to it. Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner. This is a women's fiction. One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. This is a contemporary romance. Tailspin by Sandra Brown. This is a romantic suspense. The Last Flight by Julie Clark. This is a thriller / suspense. Dark August by Katie Tallow. This one is also a thriller / mystery suspense. The last 3 books I will be reading are specifically my TBR for the TOMETOPPLE round 12 that Sam with TOMETOPPLE is organizing. So I will link that either in the comments or somewhere up here. This is my TBR for that. I didn't really get into like what the challenges were specifically, since I'm just picking up books I actually have on my physical bookshelf that were over 500 pages. The first book is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. And this is a general fiction. This is a Pulitzer Prize winner, which is a prompt on one of my own reading challenges for the rest of 2020. Also a book with a movie adaptation. So those are not prompts to the TOMETOPPLE. Those are just prompts for one of my reading challenges that I'm doing this year. Next up is Crave by Tracy Wolff. This is a YA fantasy novel. This is supposed to be like what Twilight fans are reading now. And finally, last but not least, for the month of August, is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I saved this one for last because it's the one I'm really looking forward to the most. So this will be my reward for getting through everything else. So it is a lot to read for 1 month. I have read more books than that in the previous months. I think I've hit 18 books a month for both June and July, but these books are all fairly big. I definitely have my hands full this month. So anyway, I am looking forward to seeing what you guys are reading. If you guys are participating in TOMETOPPLE, let me know what you're reading for those. So anyway, that's it. Subscribe for more videos, and I will see you in the next one.